I didn't catch her cheating. I discovered I was never her real life. If stories about hidden lives and quiet betrayals stay with you, subscribe to Snooze Times. This one starts with a key and ends with a truth I wish I'd never found. Part 1. The Woman I Thought I Knew. I found the key in her coat pocket on a Tuesday. Not hidden, not tucked away in some secret compartment, just sitting there among old receipts and lip balm, attached to a keychain I'd never seen before. A small silver tag engraved with an address in Arlington, Virginia. We lived in Baltimore. She worked in Baltimore. I couldn't think of a single reason Mara would need a key to a place 38 miles south. You know that feeling when something small, something almost stupid, makes your whole body go cold? That's what happened. I was just hanging up her jacket, the North Face puffer she wore every winter, the one that always smelled faintly of her lavender shampoo and the burnt coffee from her office break room. My hand brushed the pocket, felt the metal, pulled it out without thinking, and suddenly I was standing in our bedroom, dim February light filtering through half-closed blinds, holding a key that didn't belong in my reality. We'd been together 5 years, lived together for 3. Mara Chen was the kind of woman who remembered your coffee order, who sent you articles she thought you'd like, who woke up early on Saturdays to make pancakes even though she hated mornings. She was a senior analyst at a consulting firm downtown. Long hours, sure, but she texted me throughout the day. Little things. Missing you. Lunch was sad. Can't wait to be home. If you've ever trusted someone completely, you know how it feels. Like standing on solid ground. Like the future is a place you can actually see. I put the key back, zipped the pocket, hung the coat in the closet like nothing happened. But my hands were shaking. That night, Mara came home around 8. The apartment smelled like the Thai takeout I'd ordered, pad seat U and spring rolls from the place on Charles Street we always went to. She dropped her bag by the door, kicked off her heels, and padded into the kitchen in her stockings. Her hair was pulled back in a bun, a few dark strands loose around her face. She looked tired. She always looked tired on Tuesdays. "Hey, babe," she said, kissing my cheek. Her lips were cold. Outside, sleet had started tapping against the windows, that particular February weather that makes Baltimore feel like the edge of the world. "Hey," I handed her a plate. "Long day?" "The worst." She sank into the chair across from me, stabbed at her noodles with a fork. "Daniels is writing me about the quarterly report. I swear he invents problems just to hear himself talk." I nodded, asked follow-up questions, watched her eat. She didn't mention Arlington, didn't mention the key, didn't mention anything except work gossip and her plan to go to the gym tomorrow morning before her 9 a.m.
Maybe you've been there too. Sitting across from someone you love, smiling, pretending everything's fine while your brain is screaming. The taste of peanut sauce in my mouth turned metallic. My chest felt tight, like I'd forgotten how to breathe right. "You okay?" Mara asked, looking up. "Yeah, just tired." She reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Her fingers were warm now, soft. I'd held that hand 1,000 times, knew the small scar on her thumb from a cooking accident 2 years ago, knew the way she twisted her ring, a simple silver band I'd given her on our 4th anniversary when she was anxious. "Get some sleep," she said gently. "You've been working too hard." I was a freelance graphic designer, worked from home mostly. My schedule was flexible, hers wasn't. That's how we'd always divided things. She brought stability, I brought creativity. It worked. Or I thought it did. I didn't sleep that night. Around 2 a.m. I got out of bed and went into the living room. Our apartment was small, 1 bedroom, exposed brick, hardwood floors that creaked.
We'd moved in together right before the pandemic hit, spent months locked down in these four walls, and somehow came out stronger. Or that's what I'd believed. I sat on the couch in the dark, listening to the radiator hiss and the distant sound of traffic on I-83. The air smelled like the bergamot candle Mara always lit before bed. Everything in this place was us. Photos on the walls from trips to Rehoboth Beach and Shenandoah, her yoga mat in the corner, my sketches pinned above the desk. But now there was this key, this address. I could have asked her, should have asked her, but something stopped me. Maybe fear, maybe the dim understanding that once I asked, everything would change. You can't unask a question like that. Instead, I pulled out my phone and typed the address into Google Maps. 1447 Wilson Boulevard, Arlington, VA. The pin dropped on a generic-looking apartment complex called The Meridian. 4 stories, brick facade, the kind of place that rents for $2,000 a month and has a gym nobody uses. Street view showed a clean entrance, a few potted plants, nothing remarkable. I zoomed in, scrolled, clicked through photos some previous tenant had uploaded. Bland living rooms, granite countertops, those builder-grade fixtures that look nice in photos and cheap in person. Why would Mara have a key to this place? My mind spun through possibilities. A friend's apartment, a work thing, storage, something innocent, something I was too paranoid to see. But then I remembered her texts. Can't wait to be home, always home, never anywhere else. And I remembered the way she'd looked at me tonight, across the table, her eyes soft and familiar. If someone can lie with their eyes, what else can they lie about?
I started paying attention, not in an obvious way. I didn't confront her, didn't snoop through her phone, didn't install tracking apps or hire a private investigator. I just watched, listened, noticed the small things I'd stopped noticing years ago. Like how she never talked about specifics anymore. Her stories from work were vague. Daniel's was annoying, a client was difficult, the coffee machine was broken again. But no names I could verify, no details I could check. Like how she started putting her phone face down on the table. A tiny shift, probably meaningless. Probably. She went to the gym 4 mornings a week. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Left at 6 a.m., came back by 8. I used to sleep through it. Now I woke up when she did, pretended I was still asleep, listened to her move through the apartment, the sound of her gym bag zipper, the quiet click of the front door. One Thursday, I got up after she left and checked the bathroom. Her yoga mat was gone. Her running shoes were by the door, laces still tied from yesterday. She'd taken the mat, but not the shoes. Small thing. Meaningless, maybe. But it stuck in my head like a splinter. You ever notice how the air changes when you stop trusting someone? It gets heavier. Every conversation feels like walking on ice. You start second-guessing memories, rewriting the past, wondering if anything was ever real. We'd met at a friend's barbecue in the summer of 2019. She was wearing a yellow sundress, laughing at something I couldn't hear over the music. I'd introduced myself, awkward and half-drunk on cheap beer, and she'd smiled, this wide, genuine smile that made me feel like I'd just won something. Our first date was at a diner in Fells Point. We talked for 4 hours. She told me about growing up in California, about her parents' divorce, about the consulting job she loved and hated in equal measure. I told her about dropping out of art school, about freelancing, about my dream of starting my own studio someday. At the end of the night, she'd kissed me under a street lamp, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is the person. 5 years later, I was sitting in our apartment at 3 a.m, staring at a key, wondering if any of it had been real. The sleet had turned to snow. Outside, Baltimore was silent and white. Inside, I could hear Mara breathing in the bedroom, soft and steady, the sound of someone with nothing to hide. And I thought, maybe I'm crazy, maybe there's nothing. But I couldn't stop seeing that address, 1447 Wilson Boulevard, the Meridian. I couldn't stop wondering what was waiting for me there.
Part 2, the Tuesdays. I didn't go to Arlington right away. For 2 weeks, I did nothing.
Just carried the knowledge around like a stone in my pocket, heavy and cold. I kept working, finished a logo redesign for a craft brewery in Hampton, started mock-ups for a nonprofit's annual report. Mara kept going to work, coming home, kissing me hello, asking about my day. We ordered pizza on Friday nights, watched movies, had sex on Sunday morning, slow and familiar, her body warm against mine in the gray light filtering through our bedroom curtains. Normal. Everything was completely normal. Except I couldn't stop noticing the Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, Mara worked late. Had for months, maybe longer, I'd just never paid attention before. She'd text around 3, staying late for the team sync, don't wait up for dinner. She'd come home around 9, sometimes 10, smelling like the recycled air of conference rooms and carrying leftovers from whatever they'd ordered in, usually Indian food from that place near her office on Pratt Street. I'd never questioned it. Why would I? People work late. Consulting firms are brutal. That was just how it was. But now, holding this key in my mind, Tuesdays felt different, felt deliberate. You know that feeling when a pattern suddenly becomes visible? Like one of those optical illusions where you can't see the hidden image until someone points it out, and then you can't not see it? That's what happened. I started keeping track, pulled up our text history, scrolled back months. Every single Tuesday since October, the same message, same excuse, team sync, working late, don't wait up. 4 months of Tuesdays, 17 weeks, 17 identical texts. On the 18th Tuesday, I decided to follow her. I know how that sounds, like I'd become one of those people, paranoid, obsessive, the kind of person who ruins relationships by looking for problems that don't exist. Maybe you've been tempted to do the same thing, standing at that edge between trusting and knowing, wondering which side of the line is worse. But I couldn't keep living in this limbo, couldn't keep pretending everything was fine while my brain cataloged every small inconsistency, every tiny shift in her behavior. So, I followed her. She left for work at 7:30, same as always. I watched from our bedroom window as she walked to her car, a silver Honda Civic parked on the street, covered in a thin layer of March frost. She scraped the windshield, her breath clouding in the cold air. Baltimore mornings in early March are brutal, that damp, biting cold that gets into your bones. She was wearing her charcoal wool coat, the professional one she saved for client meetings. I waited until she pulled away, then grabbed my keys and followed. Rush hour traffic on I-95 South is a special kind of hell. 18-wheelers, commuters, that stretch past BWI Airport where everything slows to a crawl for no visible reason. I stayed 3 cars back, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The heater in my old Toyota was broken, and cold air whistled through the vents, but I was sweating anyway. She didn't go to her office. She took the exit for Arlington. I almost lost her near the Pentagon. Traffic merged and split, and suddenly her Civic was 4 lanes over, trapped behind a metro bus. I cut across 2 lanes, got honked at, didn't care. My hands were shaking on the wheel. The taste in my mouth was bitter, like I'd been chewing aspirin. My chest felt tight. She turned onto Wilson Boulevard. I followed. And then she pulled into the parking lot of the Meridian. I parked across the street, half hidden behind a CVS, killed the engine, watched. Mara got out of her car, locked it, walked to the building entrance like she'd done it 100 times before. She didn't hesitate, didn't check her phone or look around, just pulled out a key, the key, and let herself in. The door closed behind her. I sat there in my cold car, staring at the building, feeling like the ground had opened up beneath me. Maybe you've had a moment like that, when your worst fear stops being theoretical and becomes real, when the thing you've been dreading actually happens and it's somehow worse than you imagined because now you can't pretend anymore. I waited. 30 minutes passed, an hour. The sun climbed higher, melting the frost on windshields. A woman walked past with a stroller. Someone's car alarm went off and then stopped.
normal morning sounds in a normal American suburb. But nothing about this was normal. At 9:15, a man came out of the Meridian. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair going gray at the temples, mid-40s, wearing a suit, navy blue, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly rent. He carried a leather briefcase and walked with the easy confidence of someone who'd never doubted himself in his life. He got into a black Audi parked near the entrance. I watched him adjust his rearview mirror, check his phone, start the engine. And then, just before he pulled away, I saw her, Mara, standing in a fourth-floor window. She was wearing a white robe. Her hair was down, loose around her shoulders, the way she wore it at home, never at work. She was holding a coffee mug, looking down at the parking lot, looking down at him. He must have seen her too, because he raised his hand, a small wave, casual, familiar. She waved back. Then the Audi pulled away, and Mara stepped back from the window, disappearing into the apartment. I don't remember driving home. One minute I was sitting in that CVS parking lot, frozen. The next I was back in Baltimore, parked outside our apartment building, my hands still gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles had gone white. The smell of exhaust and cold asphalt hung in the air. Someone was frying bacon in one of the neighboring units. Normal life happening all around me, while my entire world had just collapsed. I sat there until my phone buzzed. A text from Mara. At the office, crazy busy day. Love you. Sent at 9:47 a.m. 23 minutes after I'd watched her wave goodbye to a man in a bathrobe while wearing his apartment like a second life.
I went inside, made coffee, sat at my desk and stared at the logo file I was supposed to be working on. The apartment felt different now, smaller somehow, like the walls had moved closer when I wasn't looking. Every object in this place told a story. The couch we'd bought together from IKEA, spent 3 hours assembling while drinking wine and laughing at the incomprehensible instructions. The framed print above the TV, a vintage national park poster from our trip to Acadia last summer. Her running shoes by the door, my sketchbooks stacked on the bookshelf. Evidence of a shared life. But how much of it was real? I pulled out my laptop and started searching. Typed in the address, cross-referenced property records, scoured social media. I'm not a detective. I design logos and marketing materials, but desperation makes you resourceful. The apartment was leased to a James Hendricks. I found him on LinkedIn in under 5 minutes. James Hendricks, managing partner at Keller & Roth Consulting Group, Washington, D.C. Graduated from Georgetown, MBA from Wharton. Board member of some nonprofit focused on sustainable energy. In his profile photo, he was smiling, wearing that same expensive suit, looking like the kind of man who'd never had to fight for anything in his life. 46 years old, married, 2 kids. I stared at his face until it blurred. Then I closed the laptop, walked to the bathroom, and threw up. The rest of that Tuesday crawled by like an open wound. I couldn't eat, couldn't work. I paced the apartment, picking up objects and putting them down, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. Was this an affair? Obviously, but how long it had been going on? Months? Years? Had she loved me at all? Or had I just been, what, a placeholder? A convenient cover story while she lived this other life with him? If you've ever had your reality shattered, you know the questions don't stop. They spiral, they multiply. Every memory becomes suspect. Every moment you thought was real suddenly feels like theater. At 8:30, I heard her key in the lock. She came in carrying Thai food, our usual Tuesday backup plan, and dropped her bag by the door with a heavy sigh. She looked exhausted. Her makeup was smudged at the corners. Her hair was back in that professional bun. "Hey," she said, kicking off her heels. "Sorry I'm so late. The team sync went long and then Daniels needed to debrief and..." She stopped, looking at me. "You okay? You look pale." I was sitting on the couch in the dark, hadn't turned on the lights. The only illumination came from the street lamp outside, casting long shadows across the floor. "I'm fine, just a headache."
She crossed to me, sat down, pressed her cool hand against my forehead. The gesture was so familiar, so her, that for a second I almost broke, almost told her everything. "I know, I followed you, I saw him, I saw you, please explain, please make this make sense." But I didn't, because I realized, sitting there with her hand on my face, that I didn't want an explanation yet. I wanted to know everything first, the full scope of the lie, how deep it went. You can't unring a bell. Once I confronted her, whatever came next would be chaos, tears, accusations, the end of everything. But right now, in this moment, I still had control. I still had the power of knowing something she didn't know I knew. And maybe I could use that. "Just tired," I said, taking her hand. "Long day." She kissed my forehead. "Get some rest, babe. I'll heat up dinner." I watched her walk into the kitchen, humming softly, moving through our shared space like nothing had changed, like she hadn't spent the morning in another man's apartment, wearing his robe, waving goodbye like a wife. And I thought, 5 years. She's been loving me for 5 years. But who else has she been loving? Outside, the wind picked up, rattling our windows. March in Baltimore is unpredictable. Warm one day, freezing the next. Tonight felt like winter again, sharp and unforgiving. I sat in the dark and listened to Mara move around the kitchen, opening cabinets, running water, living her lie. And I started planning. Part 3, The Archive. I became a documentarian of my own betrayal. Every Tuesday for the next month, I followed her. Not to confront, not to intervene, just to watch. To build a complete picture of the life she'd been living parallel to ours. Maybe you've never done something like this. Or maybe you understand exactly why I needed to. When someone rewrites your history, you need evidence. You need proof that you're not crazy, that your instincts weren't wrong, that the person you loved was real, even if the love wasn't. I took photos, timestamps, notes. March 19th, Tuesday, Mara arrives at the Meridian at 8:47 a.m. James Hendricks leaves at 9:12 a.m. She stays until 4:30 p.m., texts me at 5:30, still at the office, order without me. March 26th, Tuesday, same pattern. She brings a small overnight bag this time. He leaves earlier, 8:45 a.m. She doesn't leave until 6 p.m. Texts me at 5:30, still at the office, order without me. April 2nd, Tuesday, rain, heavy spring rain that turns DC traffic into a nightmare. She still goes, parks in the covered garage this time. I sit in my car across the street, watching water stream down my windshield, and think about how many rainy Tuesdays there must have been before I knew to look. I learned his schedule. James Hendricks left the Meridian every Tuesday morning between 8:45 and 9:15, drove to his real office in Tyson's Corner. I followed him once, confirmed it. Keller and Roth occupied 3 floors of a glass tower off Route 7, Big League, the kind of consulting firm that advises Fortune 500 companies and charges $500 an hour. His actual home was in McLean. I found the address through public records, a colonial on 2 acres, probably worth $2 million. His wife was named Jennifer. I found her on Facebook. Blonde, pretty, tennis club pretty, posted photos of their kids' soccer games and family ski trips to Aspen.
Her latest post was a quote about gratitude and perseverance, shared with a sunset emoji. She had no idea. Neither did I until 3 weeks ago. The thing about surveillance is how boring it is. You see it in movies, car chases, dramatic confrontations, cigarettes smoked in dark alleys. Reality is sitting in a CVS parking lot for 6 hours, drinking gas station coffee that tastes like burnt plastic, listening to the same true crime podcast on repeat because you need something to drown out your thoughts. The smells became familiar. The CVS parking lot always smelled like hot asphalt and someone's discarded fast food. Inside my car, old coffee cups accumulated in the cup holders. The vinyl seats held on to the cold no matter how long I ran the heat. If you've ever waited for something terrible to be confirmed, you know how time moves, slow and fast simultaneously. Hours blur together, but every minute is distinct, sharp, painful. I started noticing other patterns too. Mara never took phone calls when she was with me anymore. She'd step into the bedroom or the bathroom, talk in low voices I couldn't quite hear. When I asked who it was, she always had an answer ready. Her mother, a college friend, someone from work. She'd started buying new underwear, expensive stuff from that boutique in Harbor East, black lace and silk, things she never wore around me. I found the shopping bags hidden in the back of her closet when I was looking for... I don't know what I was looking for. Evidence? Confirmation? Something to make this hurt worse than it already did? She kept her laptop password protected now, used to leave it open on the coffee table, but now she closed it every time she walked away, clicked it shut, with a finality that felt like a door closing. Small changes. Death by 1,000 cuts. On April 9th, I broke into the Meridian. Not literally, I'm not a criminal, but I waited until Mara left at 4:30, watched her drive away, then walked across the street and slipped in when another resident opened the main entrance. If anyone had stopped me, I would have said I was visiting a friend, but no one stopped me. The building smelled like every mid-range apartment complex in America. Carpet cleaner, artificial air freshener, the faint ghost of someone's cooking. The elevator hummed as it carried me to the 4th floor. My reflection in the brushed metal doors looked pale, hollow-eyed. I'd lost weight, wasn't sleeping, existed in a constant state of low-grade nausea. Apartment 407. I stood outside the door for a full minute, just staring at the numbers. Behind this door was the other life, the secret, the truth I'd been circling for weeks. I didn't have a key, couldn't get in, but there was a window at the end of the hallway, and when I looked out, I could see directly into 407's living room. The blinds were open. I could see everything. A white couch, expensive, modern, nothing like the second-hand IKEA stuff Mara and I had cobbled together. Abstract art on the walls, the kind sold in galleries, not Target. A kitchen with marble countertops visible through an open doorway. Everything clean, minimal, adult in a way our cramped Baltimore apartment would never be.
And on the coffee table, a framed photo. I couldn't see it clearly from this distance, but I knew what it was. Could feel it. Them. That night, Mara came home at 9:30, carrying Indian food like she always did on Tuesdays. Sog paneer, garlic naan, the smell of spices filling our apartment. She'd changed back into her work clothes, the burgundy blouse she'd worn that morning, black slacks, sensible flats. The performance was seamless. "How was your day?" she asked, kissing my cheek. Her lips were warm. She tasted like mint gum. "Fine. Finished the brewery logo." "Can I see?" I showed her. She made all the right noises, impressed, supportive, loving, asked smart questions about the color palette and font choices. This was what she did, who she was. Mara had always been my biggest cheerleader, the person who believed in my work even when I didn't. Was that real? Any of it? We ate dinner. She told me about her day, the same vague office stories, Daniel's being difficult,
A client presentation that went well. I nodded, asked follow-ups, played my role. Maybe you've had to do this too. Sit across from someone you love and pretend. Smile when you want to scream. Act normal when everything inside you is breaking. After dinner, she took a shower. I heard the water running, heard her humming, some pop song from the radio, off-key and sweet. The sound used to make me smile. Now it made me want to put my fist through the wall. While she showered, I did something I'd been avoiding. I opened her laptop. She'd left it on the kitchen counter, and for once, maybe she was tired, maybe she was careless, she hadn't logged out. The screen was still lit, showing her email inbox. My hands shook as I scrolled. Most of it was work stuff, boring corporate emails about quarterly projections and team meetings. But then I found a folder labeled Personal Archive. I clicked it, and there they were, hundreds of emails, going back 2 years. 2 fucking years. Not 4 months, not since October. 2 fucking years.
The emails were intimate. Not explicitly sexual, though some were, but worse somehow. They read like love letters, like the kind of messages you send someone when you're building a life together. Missing you already. Tuesday feels so far away. I keep thinking about what you said last week, about Santorini. Let's actually do it. Next summer, just us. You make me feel like I'm 25 again, like anything is possible. That last one was from James. I recognized his name in the sender field, jhendricks@kellerroth.com. Mara's responses were worse. You're my favorite escape, my favorite everything. I hate that we only get Tuesdays. I hate pretending the rest of the week. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if we could just be, openly, without hiding. I read until I couldn't anymore, until the words started swimming together, until my chest felt so tight I thought I might pass out right there in our kitchen. 2 years. While we were celebrating our 3rd anniversary, she was writing love letters to him. While we were locked down together during the pandemic, teaching each other to bake bread and binge-watching Netflix, she was planning a future with someone else. While I was falling asleep next to her every night, she was dreaming of Santorini with a married man in a $2 million house. I closed the laptop carefully, exactly how I'd found it. The shower turned off. I heard Mara moving around in the bathroom, the sound of drawers opening, her electric toothbrush buzzing. I walked to our bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. She came out a few minutes later, wrapped in a towel, her hair damp and smelling like that lavender shampoo I used to love. She smiled at me, that same warm, genuine smile that had made me fall for her 5 years ago. You coming to bed? She asked. Yeah, in a minute. She kissed the top of my head. Don't stay up too late. You need sleep. Then she dropped the towel and climbed into bed, and I sat there in the dark, listening to her breathing even out, listening to her fall asleep like someone with nothing to hide, like someone who hadn't been living a double life for 2 years, like someone who loved me. I didn't sleep that night, just lay next to her, feeling the warmth of her body, the familiar weight of her presence. Outside, I could hear the distant sound of sirens on North Avenue, the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, the settling sounds of our building. Normal sounds, normal night, except nothing was normal anymore. I thought about confronting her right then, waking her up and asking her everything. Who are you? Who have you been? Was any of this real? But I didn't, because somewhere between finding the key and reading those emails, something had shifted inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp and massive, but underneath it was something else, something colder. I'd spent 5 years building a life with Mara,
5 years of trust, of love, of believing we were partners. She'd spent 2 of those years building something else, somewhere else, with someone else. She'd made a choice. Every Tuesday for 2 years, she chose him. Now it was my turn to choose. And what I chose, lying there in the dark, listening to her breathe, was not forgiveness, not understanding.
Not some clean, mature conversation about where we went wrong. What I chose was something I'd never felt before. Something that tasted like copper in my mouth and felt like ice in my veins. I chose revenge. Part 4. The Architect. Revenge isn't what you see in movies. There's no sudden clarity, no moment where a plan springs fully formed into your mind accompanied by dramatic music. It's slower than that, uglier. It builds like sediment, layer by layer, until you barely recognize yourself anymore. I spent 3 days just thinking. Not planning yet, just thinking. Sitting at my desk, pretending to work, while my mind circled the same questions over and over. What did I want? What would actually make this better? What would make the pain stop? You know that phrase about revenge being a dish best served cold? I used to think that meant you should wait, let your anger cool. But I think it means something else now. It means revenge requires coldness, requires you to freeze the parts of yourself that might hesitate, might forgive, might choose the higher road. I froze those parts. By the 4th day, I knew what I was going to do. The plan started with Jennifer Hendricks. I found her email through her nonprofit work. She was on the board of some children's literacy foundation, and her contact information was listed publicly on their website, jennifer.hen.gmail.com. So trusting, so unaware. I created a new email account, used a VPN to mask my location, signed up through a library computer in Towson to avoid any digital trail. Called myself David Wright, generic, forgettable. Made up a story about being a freelance journalist, working on a piece about the consulting industry's impact on family life. Sent her a message on April 12th. Dear Mrs. Hendricks, I'm a freelance journalist researching an article about work-life balance in the consulting industry. Your husband's firm came up in my research, and I was hoping to get a spouse's perspective on how demanding careers affect family dynamics. Would you be open to a brief phone conversation? I'd be happy to work around your schedule. Best regards, David Wright. She responded in 4 hours. David, I'd be happy to help. This is actually a topic I'm passionate about. My husband works incredibly long hours, and it's definitely shaped our family life. I have some time Thursday afternoon if that works for you. Best, Jennifer. Thursday afternoon. I looked at the calendar. That was April 17th. A Tuesday. Perfect. I called her at 2 p.m., sitting in my car in the parking lot of a Wegmans in Hunt Valley. The air smelled like rain, another spring storm rolling in from the west, turning the sky the color of old bruises. Inside the grocery store, people moved through their normal lives, buying bread and milk, arguing with their kids, checking their phones. Normal. Everything so devastatingly normal. Jennifer answered on the second ring. Her voice was bright, educated, the kind of voice that had never known real hardship. Hello? Mrs. Hendricks? This is David Wright. Thanks so much for making time. Of course. Please call me Jennifer. We talked for 40 minutes. I asked her generic questions about James's career, about how she managed family life with his demanding schedule. She was surprisingly open, surprisingly willing to share. Told me about the missed soccer games, the last-minute canceled vacations, the nights he worked late and came home exhausted. He's incredibly dedicated, she said. There was pride in her voice, but underneath it, something else. Loneliness, maybe.
Sometimes I joke that Keller and Roth is his first wife, and I am the mistress. I almost laughed, almost told her how close to the truth she was. Instead, I said, "Does he travel much for work?" "Not really. Most of his clients are local. He has a standing Tuesday commitment, some long-term project with a client in Baltimore, but otherwise he's pretty consistent about being home for dinner." "That's good," I said, writing notes I'd never use. Consistency matters. "It does." She paused. "Though, between you and me, I sometimes wonder about those Tuesdays. He's always so energized when he comes home, happy. He actually whistles. James never whistles." The way she said it, half joking, half uncertain, made my chest tighten. She suspected, maybe not consciously, but somewhere deep down she knew something was off. Maybe you've been there too, had that instinct that something's wrong, but talked yourself out of it, because believing the lie is easier than facing the truth. "Well," I said carefully, "maybe that project is just really fulfilling for him professionally. Maybe." She didn't sound convinced. "Anyway, is there anything else you need? I should probably get going, have to pick up the kids from practice." "Just one more thing," I said. "I like to include specific details in my articles, ground them in reality. Do you remember what you were doing this past Tuesday? Just for context, to show what a typical week looks like."
This Tuesday? She thought about it. "I had a tennis lesson in the morning, then lunch with some friends. Oh, and I tried calling James around noon, needed him to pick something up on his way home, but he didn't answer. That's pretty typical on Tuesdays, though. He must really focus during those meetings." Noon, while Mara was still at the Meridian, while they were both living in their Tuesday fantasy. "That's perfect," I said. "Thank you so much for your time, Jennifer. This has been incredibly helpful." "Happy to help. Let me know when the article comes out. I'd love to read it." "I'll send you a link." I lied. We hung up. I sat in my car watching rain start to speckle the windshield and felt nothing. No guilt, no hesitation, just cold, clear certainty. Jennifer Hendricks deserved to know. But more than that, James Hendricks deserved to lose everything the same way I had.
The next step was harder. I needed proof, real proof, not just my surveillance photos or emails I'd seen once on Mara's laptop. I needed something undeniable, something that would blow up both their lives simultaneously. I thought about hiring a private investigator, but that felt risky. Too many variables, too much chance of it coming back to me. So I did it myself. On Tuesday, April 22nd, I followed the now familiar routine. Watched Mara drive to Arlington, park in the garage, disappear into the Meridian. Watched James leave at 9:10 carrying his briefcase, looking like a man with nothing to hide. This time, I didn't stay in the parking lot.
I went inside. The lock on apartment 407 was standard builder grade, the kind you could open with a credit card if you knew what you were doing. And I'd spent the past week watching YouTube videos, practicing on our own apartment door until I could do it in under 30 seconds. Maybe you think this makes me a criminal. Maybe you're right. But when someone takes 2 years of your life, when they build a palace of lies on top of your trust, the law starts to feel less important than the truth. The door clicked open. I stepped inside. The apartment smelled like her, like Mara. That same lavender shampoo mixed with something else, expensive cologne, leather, the faint ghost of coffee. The living room was exactly as I'd seen it through the window. White couch, abstract art, everything pristine and adult. But it was the details that killed me. A pair of her shoes by the door, not the sensible flats she wore to work. Strappy heels, red, the kind she only wore for special occasions. A throw blanket on the couch that I recognized. She told me she left it at her parents' house in California, lied, brought it here instead. In the kitchen, 2 coffee mugs in the sink. One had lipstick on the rim, her shade, that dusty rose color she'd worn for years.
In the bedroom, a closet half full of her clothes. Dresses I'd never seen, jeans, sweaters, a leather jacket still tagged with the price, $400. Where did she get that kind of money? We shared finances, or I thought we did. On the nightstand, a framed photo. Them, James and Mara on a beach somewhere. White sand, turquoise water, sunset colors streaking the sky. He had his arm around her waist. She was laughing, her head tilted back, pure joy on her face. I'd never seen her look that happy. Not with me, not in 5 years. I picked up the frame with shaking hands. On the back, written in her handwriting, Rehoboth, October 2023, our first trip. October 2023, 6 months ago. She'd told me she was going to visit her college roommate in Boston that weekend. I'd helped her pack, driven her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, and told her to have fun. She'd gone to Rehoboth Beach with him, taken the exact same trip we'd taken a year earlier, to the same place, probably the same hotel. Replaced me like I was nothing. I stood in that bedroom holding that photo, and something inside me broke completely. Not broke like crying, broke like glass, sharp, dangerous, irreparable.
I took pictures, the closet, the photo, the coffee mugs, the shoes, every detail of this life she'd been building while pretending to build one with me. Then I left, locking the door behind me, and walked back to my car like a ghost. That night, Mara came home at 10, later than usual. She looked exhausted but happy, that same energized mood Jennifer had mentioned. She kissed me, tasting like wine. "Sorry I'm so late. We went out for drinks after the meeting. Team bonding thing." "Sounds fun," I said. "It was nice. I should shower. I smell like bar food." I watched her disappear into the bathroom, heard the water start, sat on the couch with my phone, scrolling through the photos I'd taken. Evidence, undeniable, devastating. I could have sent them to her right then, could have forwarded them to James, to Jennifer, to Mara's parents and friends, could have blown up everything in one atomic moment. But that would have been too quick, too clean. I wanted them to feel what I felt, the slow realization, the mounting horror, the way your world doesn't explode all at once, but crumbles, piece by piece, until you're standing in rubble, wondering how you didn't see it coming. So I waited, I planned, and I built something worse than exposure. I built a trap. The trap took 2 weeks to build. I didn't rush it. Rushing leads to mistakes, and I couldn't afford mistakes. Every move had to be calculated, every piece placed precisely. You know that feeling when you're working on something intricate, a puzzle, a design, something that requires absolute focus? That's what this became. My entire world narrowed to a single purpose. During the day, I lived my normal life, worked on client projects, met deadlines, even landed a new contract with a tech startup in DC that needed a complete brand overhaul. The irony wasn't lost on me, designing a fresh identity for someone else while systematically dismantling my own. At night, while Mara slept beside me, I planned. The key was timing. I needed both of them to be blindsided simultaneously. If one found out before the other, they'd have time to coordinate, to craft a story, to minimize the damage. But if I could engineer a moment where everything collapsed at once, publicly, irreversibly, they'd have nowhere to hide. I started with Jennifer. On May 1st, I sent her another email from my David Wright account. "Jennifer, thanks again for your time last month. I'm finalizing the article and wanted to fact-check one detail. You mentioned your husband has a standing Tuesday commitment in Baltimore. Do you know which client or project that is? I'd like to reach out to them for comment. Best, David." She responded the next morning. "David, I actually don't know the specifics.
James usually doesn't discuss client details with me, but I can ask him. He should be home tonight. My stomach dropped. I'd pushed too hard, moved too fast. But then, 3 hours later, another email. David, I asked James, and he said it's a long-term engagement with a healthcare client. He can't give more details due to confidentiality agreements. Hope that helps. Jennifer. A lie. Clean, practiced, delivered to his wife without hesitation. I wondered how many lies he'd told her over 2 years. Hundreds, probably, maybe thousands. The same way Mara had lied to me. Maybe you've never been lied to on that scale. Or maybe you have, and you know how it rewires your brain, makes you question everything, doubt your own memory, wonder if you ever really knew the person sleeping next to you. I sent Jennifer one more email. That's perfect, thank you. One last question, and I know this might seem odd, but for the human interest angle of the piece, would you be willing to meet James for lunch on a Tuesday, say May 20th? I'd love to photograph a reunion moment after one of his long workdays, very candid, very real. The request was insane, transparent. She should have questioned it, but she didn't. What a lovely idea. I'll surprise him. He works so hard, he deserves it. Should I meet him at his office in Tyson's? Actually, I wrote back, I was thinking somewhere more intimate. Does he have a favorite restaurant in Arlington, near his Tuesday meeting location? She sent me 3 options. One of them was a French bistro 2 blocks from the Meridian. Perfect. The second part of the trap required Mara. This was harder. She was more careful than James, more attuned to changes in routine. I couldn't just manipulate her directly. She'd sense something was off. So I used her own patterns against her. Every Tuesday, she texted me around 3 o'clock with the same excuse. Working late, team sync, don't wait up. But on May 6th, I texted her first, at 2:45 p.m. while she was still at the Meridian. Hey babe, I need to ask you something tonight, important. Can you make sure you're home by 7? She responded in 5 minutes. Is everything okay? Yeah, all good. Just want to talk. 7? I have a late meeting, but I can try to wrap by 7:30. What's this about? Tell you tonight. Love you. She sent back a heart emoji.
That night, she came home at exactly 7:30. I'd never specified what I wanted to talk about, so she'd spent the afternoon wondering, worrying, probably texting James in a panic. When she walked through the door, her face was pale, her eyes searching mine for clues. Hey, she said carefully, what's going on? You're scaring me. I smiled, let the moment stretch, watched her anxiety spike. Then, I've been thinking about us, about our future. Her expression shifted, relief, confusion. Okay. I think we should take a trip, something big. We haven't traveled since Acadia, and I feel like we need it, need to reconnect. The tension drained out of her shoulders. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. I was thinking Greece, I said, watching her face. Maybe Santorini? Nothing, not a flicker. She just nodded, smiled. I'd love that. There's a festival there in late May, May 20th weekend. I was thinking we could go then, make a whole week of it. May 20th? She pulled out her phone, checked her calendar. I already knew what she'd see. Nothing, no conflicts, no reason to say no. That should work. Let me just confirm with work that I can take the time off. Great. I kissed her forehead. I'll start looking at flights. She relaxed completely after that, thought the crisis had passed, thought whatever she'd feared I'd discovered was still safely hidden. She had no idea I'd just scheduled our relationship's execution date. May 20th was a Tuesday. The planning required precision. I booked flights to Santorini for both of us, real flights, real reservations, refundable tickets. Sent Mara the confirmation. Watched her face light up as she forwarded the details to her parents, to friends, posting vague hints on Instagram about an upcoming adventure. She never mentioned it to James. I know because I'd hacked into her email account 2 weeks earlier. Same password she used for everything. The name of her childhood cat, plus her birth year. Sloppy. Arrogant. Her messages to him in early May were panicked. We need to skip the 20th. Something came up. Can't we move it to the 21st? Just this once? I hate this. I hate lying to him, but I can't cancel the trip without raising suspicion. His responses were colder. Figure it out. This is your problem, not mine. You chose this situation. Deal with it.
Reading those messages, I felt something unexpected. Satisfaction. They were turning on each other. The pressure was cracking their perfect Tuesday fantasy. Good. On May 18th, I sent one final email to Jennifer. Jennifer, quick change of plans. Would you be able to meet James for lunch on Tuesday the 20th at noon instead of dinner? The photographer's schedule shifted. The bistro you mentioned, Chez Michel, works perfectly. I'll be there to capture the moment. Don't tell James. I want it to be a genuine surprise. Thanks so much, David. She agreed immediately. Then I texted Mara. Emergency. Client meeting moved to Tuesday morning. I need to be in DC by 10 a.m. Can we push our flight to Wednesday instead? Are you serious? She wrote back. I'm so sorry. This contract is huge. I can't reschedule. 3 hours of silence. Then, fine, Wednesday. I canceled the Tuesday flights, rebooked for Wednesday. She had no excuse now. Tuesday the 20th was wide open. She'd go to the Meridian, same as always, and I'd be there to watch everything burn. The morning of May 20th was clear and warm, one of those perfect late spring days where DC smells like cherry blossoms and possibility, the kind of day that makes you believe good things are going to happen. I left Baltimore at 9 a.m., drove to Arlington with the windows down, feeling the warm air rush through the car. The taste of coffee was still bitter on my tongue. My hands were steady on the wheel. I'd been planning this for 6 weeks, every detail accounted for, every variable considered. But now that it was actually happening, I felt nothing. Not excited, not anxious, just empty. Like I'd hollowed myself out to make room for this one purpose, and soon there'd be nothing left. Maybe that's what revenge really costs. Not your morals or your dignity, those are abstractions. It costs your capacity to feel anything except the need to make someone hurt the way they hurt you. I parked across from the Meridian at 10:15, watched Mara arrive at 10:30, later than usual. She looked distracted, kept checking her phone as she walked to the entrance. James arrived at 11, kissed her in the doorway. I caught it through my zoom lens. A long kiss, familiar, the kind that comes from hundreds of repetitions. 2 years of Tuesdays. 2 years of this exact moment, repeated like a ritual. At 11:45, I walked to Chez Michel. The bistro was exactly what I had expected. White tablecloths, French music playing softly, the smell of garlic and butter and expensive wine. A place where people celebrated anniversaries and closed business deals and proposed marriage. A place where lives changed. I sat at a table near the window with a clear view of the entrance, ordered coffee I wouldn't drink. The waiter gave me a curious look. I was dressed too casually for this place, jeans and a dark jacket, but he didn't say anything. At 11:55, Jennifer Hendricks walked in. She looked exactly like her photos, blonde, well-maintained, wearing a sundress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She scanned the restaurant, looking for James, not finding him, checked her phone, looked confused. I stood up and walked over. "Jennifer?" She turned, startled. "Yes?" "I'm David Wright. We spoke on the phone." Recognition, then confusion. "Oh, I thought you were just taking photos. I didn't realize you'd be... Wait, where's James?" "He's not here yet," I said, "but he will be, in about 5 minutes." "I don't understand." "You will. Please, sit down." Something in my voice made her comply. We sat at a table for two, and I could see her processing the strangeness of the situation, trying to reconcile what she'd expected with what was happening. "Mr. Wright, I think there's been some kind of—" "There's no article," I said quietly. "There never was." Her face went pale. "What?" "Your husband isn't meeting a client in Baltimore every Tuesday." I pulled out my phone, opened the photo folder I'd prepared. I showed her. The photos of the Meridian, of James's car in the parking lot, of Maura in the fourth-floor window wearing that white robe, of them together on the beach that stolen weekend in Rehoboth. Jennifer stared at the screen. Her hands started shaking. Who is she?" "Her name is Maura Chen. She's been with him for 2 years." I swiped through more photos. This is their apartment. This is their life, every Tuesday. "No," her voice was barely a whisper. "No, James wouldn't. We have children. We've been married 15 years. "I know. I'm sorry." She looked up at me, tears starting to form. "Who are you? Why are you showing me this?" "Because," I said, "she's been doing the same thing to me." Understanding crashed over her face. "You're—"
Her boyfriend, or I was, for 5 years. I paused. We lived together, in Baltimore. She comes home to me every Tuesday night and pretends she's been working late. Jennifer put her hand over her mouth. For a moment, I thought she might be sick. Then she said, "He's coming here?" "Yes, he should be." The door opened. James Hendricks walked into Chez Michel at exactly 12:03 p.m., wearing a charcoal suit, looking relaxed and confident. He was checking his phone, probably texting Maura, probably thinking about their afternoon together. He looked up, saw his wife, and froze.
Time doesn't actually slow down in moments like this. That's a movie thing. But your perception sharpens. Every detail becomes hyper-real, burned into your memory with perfect clarity. I watched James Hendricks's face cycle through emotions in the span of 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, panic, and finally a desperate attempt at composure. He was a consultant, after all, a man who made a living staying calm under pressure, controlling narratives, managing crises. But there's no managing this kind of crisis. "Jennifer?" His voice was steady, but I could see his jaw tighten. "What are you doing here?" She didn't answer, just stared at him with an expression I recognized, the look of someone watching their entire life reveal itself as a lie. I'd worn that same expression 6 weeks ago, standing in our bedroom, holding a key. If you've ever seen someone you love transform into a stranger right in front of you, you know what that silence feels like. Heavy, suffocating, like the air itself has turned solid. James's eyes flicked to me. "Who are you?" "David Wright," I said calmly. "We've corresponded. I'm the journalist who's been helping your wife understand where you spend your Tuesdays." His face went white. "Jennifer," said James. Her voice was quiet, but there was steel underneath it. "Or I'm walking out of here and calling my lawyer before you reach the parking lot." He sat. The restaurant continued around us, waiters delivering food, couples laughing, the soft clink of silverware on plates, normal life happening in parallel to our implosion. The smell of coq au vin drifted from a nearby table. Someone's phone buzzed. Outside, cars passed on Wilson Boulevard, people heading to lunch meetings and grocery stores and the mundane destinations of a Tuesday afternoon. None of them knew they were watching 3 lives detonate. "How long?" Jennifer asked. "Jen, let me explain. Just how long?" James looked at me, then back to his wife, calculating, trying to find an angle, a version of the truth that might minimize the damage. 2 years,
I said before he could answer. "Every Tuesday, they have an apartment together. The Meridian, apartment 407, about 2 miles from here." Jennifer's breath caught. "An apartment?" "He's lying," James said quickly. "I don't know who this person is, but..." I pulled out my phone again, showed Jennifer the photos I'd taken inside 407, the closet full of Mara's clothes, the framed photo from Rehoboth Beach, the coffee mugs with lipstick stains. "October 2023, I said, zooming in on the inscription on the back of the photo frame. "While you thought he was at a conference in Chicago." Jennifer took the phone from my hand, scrolled through the images with shaking fingers. Each swipe was another small death. I could see it in her face. The muscle jumping in her jaw, the way her breathing had gone shallow. "That's not..." James started. "Stop." She didn't look up from the phone. "Just stop talking." "Who is she?" Her voice cracked on the last word. James didn't answer. "Her name is Mara Chen. She's 32, works in consulting, same industry as your husband. That's how they met, some conference in Baltimore 2 years ago." "And you?" Jennifer looked at me properly for the first time. "You said she's been doing this to you?" 5 years together, 3 years living together. She told me she works late every Tuesday. I smiled, but it felt wrong on my face, bitter. I guess she does, just not at her office. Jennifer set the phone down carefully on the white tablecloth. When she looked at James, I saw something I hadn't expected. Not just hurt, but rage. The kind of anger that comes from years of trust weaponized against you. "Where is she right now?" Jennifer asked. "At the apartment," I said, waiting for him to come back after lunch. Jennifer stood up. "Show me." James tried to stop us in the parking lot, grabbed Jennifer's arm as she headed toward her Mercedes, his voice low and urgent. "Please, just let me explain. It's not what you think. It's complicated." She yanked her arm away. "Don't touch me." "Jennifer, think about the kids. Think about what this will do to them if you..." "You should have thought about the kids." Her voice was ice. "You should have thought about them every Tuesday for 2 years while you were fucking someone else." A woman loading groceries into her car nearby looked over sharply. This was McLean, a place where people kept their disasters private, behind closed doors and good landscaping. Public confrontations didn't happen here, but they were happening now. "I'm following him," Jennifer said to me, gesturing at my car. "You lead. I want to see it. I want to see everything." James stood frozen in the parking lot, his carefully constructed double life collapsing in real time. He could have run, could have called Mara, warned her, tried to salvage something, but he didn't. Maybe shock. Maybe some part of him knew it was over, that running would only make it worse. Or maybe, after 2 years of lying, he was tired of running. The drive back to the Meridian took 7 minutes. I kept checking my rearview mirror. Jennifer's Mercedes followed close behind, steady and determined. James's Audi was nowhere to be seen. He'd either gone somewhere else or was still sitting in that parking lot, trying to figure out what to do. I parked across the street. Jennifer pulled up beside me and got out. The warm May air felt wrong, too pleasant, too normal for what was about to happen. The sky was cloudless and blue. Somewhere nearby, someone was mowing their lawn, and the smell of cut grass mixed with the urban scent of hot asphalt. "4th floor?" Jennifer asked. "Apartment 407. We walked to the entrance together, 2 strangers united by betrayal, about to destroy the fantasy world our partners had built. The door wasn't locked. Someone had propped it open with a brick, probably moving furniture or something mundane and domestic. The elevator hummed as it carried us up. Jennifer's reflection in the metal doors looked haunted. She was gripping her purse so tightly her knuckles had gone white. "Are you sure you want to do this?" I asked. She laughed, short, sharp, humorless. "Are you?" I didn't answer. The hallway on the 4th floor was empty. Our footsteps were too loud on the industrial carpet. I could hear a TV playing in one of the apartments, muffled voices from a daytime talk show. Life continuing normally while we walked toward the end of everything. I stopped outside of 407. Jennifer raised her hand to knock, then hesitated. What if we walk in and they're... Then we walk in, I said. She knocked. 3 sharp raps. Silence. Then footsteps. The lock clicking. The door opening. Mara stood there in yoga pants and one of my old college t-shirts, the faded blue one from Maryland, the one she wore around our apartment on lazy weekends. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup. She looked soft, comfortable, like someone in their own home. She looked at me, then at Jennifer, and I watched my girlfriend's face cycle through the same emotions James has had: confusion, recognition, panic. Ethan? Her voice was small. Who is this? Jennifer's voice cut through. Who are you? Mara's eyes darted between us, her brain clearly spinning, trying to find a way out, trying to construct some explanation that might make this make sense.
I don't know what he told you, but I'm Jennifer Hendricks, Jennifer said. James's wife. Mara's face went gray. And you're the woman who's been fucking my husband for 2 years in this apartment while I was home with our children. Mara's eyes found mine, pleading. Ethan, please, I can explain. Explain what? The words came out harder than I intended. Explain the 2 years of emails, the trips to Rehoboth, the closet full of clothes you told me you left at your parents' house? You went through my emails? I found the key in your coat. February. I stepped closer. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Did you think I was that stupid? Tears started rolling down her face. I was going to tell you. I was going to end it. I just needed time. 2 years, I said. You needed 2 years? Jennifer pushed past both of us into the apartment. I heard her moving through the rooms, opening doors, her footsteps echoing on the hardwood. Heard her sharp intake of breath when she found the bedroom, the photos, all the evidence of the life they'd built here. Mara grabbed my arm. Please, please, I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, remembered all the times that hand had held mine. 5 years of casual touches, of intimacy, of trust. Did you ever love me? Or was I just convenient, someone to come home to when James went back to his real life? You don't understand. It wasn't like that. Then tell me what it was like. Tell me what it feels like to kiss someone goodbye in the morning and spend the day with someone else. Tell me what it feels like to build a whole separate life and then come home and pretend. She opened her mouth, closed it. No words came. Maybe you've been there, demanded an explanation for something inexplicable, wanted someone to make sense of the senseless. But some betrayals don't have explanations. They just are. Jennifer emerged from the bedroom holding the framed photo from Rehoboth. You took him to our beach, she said, her voice shaking. That's our place. I'm sorry, Mara whispered. Are you sorry? Jennifer's laugh was sharp enough to cut. Are you sorry? Do you have any idea what you've done? I have 2 children who worship their father. I have a life, a home, 15 years of marriage. I didn't mean for this to happen. Then what did you mean? I asked. What was the plan? String both of us along forever? See how long you could keep the lie going? Mara's tears were flowing freely now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her. The woman standing in front of me was a stranger wearing Mara's face. Where is he? Jennifer demanded. Where's James? I don't know. He said he had a lunch meeting. She stopped, understanding dawning. You were the lunch meeting. Surprise, flatly. We stood there in that apartment, the 4 of us, scattered across 2 locations, but connected by the same web of lies, and I realized something. This wasn't satisfaction, wasn't catharsis, wasn't the clean, righteous vindication I'd imagined during all those weeks of planning.
It was just destruction. Jennifer was crying now, sitting on the white couch where Mara and James had probably sat together hundreds of times, her perfect McLean composure finally cracking. Mara was backed against the wall, mascara running, looking between us like a trapped animal, and I was empty. I'd wanted them to hurt the way I hurt, and they were hurting. Jennifer's life was destroyed. Mara's careful balance was shattered. James's reputation, his marriage, everything he'd built, gone. I'd won. So why did I feel like I'd lost? My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. James." I showed it to Jennifer. She looked at it, then at me. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." Mara reached for me again. "Ethan, please, don't shut me out. We can work through this. We can—" "Work through it?" I stepped back. "Mara, there's nothing to work through. You built a life with someone else. You chose him every Tuesday for 2 years. You don't get to walk that back now just because you got caught." "I chose you," she said desperately. "I came home to you every night. That has to mean something. It means I was convenient. It means you wanted everything, the stability of our relationship and the excitement of whatever you had with him." I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone I didn't recognize. "Who are you?" "I'm the same person I've always been." "No," I said quietly, "you're not. Or maybe you are, and I just never knew you at all." I left, just walked out of that apartment and didn't look back. Heard Jennifer say something to Mara behind me, heard Mara's response, but the words blurred together. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, 4 flights down, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. Outside, the afternoon had turned humid. Storm clouds were building in the west, that particular DC weather where the pressure drops and you can taste rain coming. The air felt heavy, hard to breathe. I sat in my car and stared at nothing. My phone kept buzzing, texts from Mara, then calls. I didn't answer. After a while, James's Audi pulled into the parking lot. He sat there for a long moment before getting out, looking up at the 4th floor window. Then he walked inside. I should have left then, should have driven back to Baltimore, started packing Mara's things, begun the process of untangling 5 years of shared life. But I couldn't move.
Because somewhere in the past 6 weeks, I'd convinced myself that revenge would fix this, that exposing the truth would heal the wound, that watching them suffer would balance the scales. But all I felt was hollow. The rain started, fat drops that quickly became a downpour, drumming on the roof of my car, turning the world outside blurry and indistinct. I sat there and listened to it, thought about all the rainy Tuesdays that had passed while I was oblivious. My phone rang. Not Mara this time, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Ethan?" Jennifer's voice. "Can you come back up, please? I think we need to talk. All of us." "I don't think that's a good idea. Please." She sounded exhausted, broken. "I can't do this alone, and neither can you." I closed my eyes. "I'll be right there."
The 4 of us sat in that apartment like survivors of a plane crash, shell-shocked, broken, unable to look away from the wreckage. James was on one end of the white couch, Jennifer on the other end, as far from him as possible without leaving the furniture entirely. Mara sat in the armchair by the window, her knees pulled to her chest, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I leaned against the wall by the door, ready to leave at any moment. The rain hammered against the windows. Outside, Arlington had gone dark and blurry, the storm turning afternoon into premature evening. Thunder rolled in the distance. Nobody spoke for a long time. Then James said, "I'm sorry." The words landed like stones. "Sorry," Jennifer's voice was brittle. You're sorry? What exactly are you sorry for, James? Sorry you got caught? Sorry you have to face consequences? Or sorry you spent 2 years fucking someone half your age while I raised your children? She's not... James stopped himself. That's not fair. Fair? Jennifer laughed, and the sound was terrifying. You want to talk about fair? I meant, he said carefully, that reducing this to just sex isn't accurate. The silence that followed was arctic. Oh my God, Jennifer said. You love her. Mara made a small sound, something between a gasp and a sob. James didn't deny it. You know that moment when you think things can't get worse, and then they do? When you discover there's another layer underneath the betrayal you already uncovered? That's what this was. I'd thought this was an affair, tawdry, selfish, but ultimately shallow. But love? Love made it worse somehow. Love meant every moment they'd spent together had weight, meaning, intent. Love meant Mara had been building a future with him while pretending to build one with me. How long have you loved her? I asked. My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. James looked at me for the first time since we'd all gathered here. I don't know, a year maybe. It's complicated. It's really not, I said. You either love someone or you don't. Says the person who's never been married 15 years, who's never felt that slow death of passion, the way you become roommates instead of lovers, who's never looked at their life and wondered if this is all there is. So you're the victim here? Jennifer's voice could have stripped paint. Your marriage got boring, so you deserve a consolation prize? I'm not saying I deserve anything. I'm saying I'm human. I made mistakes. Mistake, singular. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or snapping at someone when you're tired. What you did was make a choice. Every Tuesday for 2 years. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. Mara finally spoke. It wasn't just him. Her voice was hoarse from crying. I made choices too. I'm not some victim he seduced. I knew what I was doing. Then why? Jennifer asked. Why do this? You're young, you're not married. Why would you choose to be someone's mistress? Mara's face crumpled. Because I fell in love with him. Because when I'm with him, I feel like the best version of myself. Because he makes me feel seen in ways I've never felt before. Each word was a knife. And me? I asked quietly. What was I? She looked at me, and I saw the answer in her eyes before she said it. Safe. Comfortable. You were home. Just not the one she wanted to live in, James added. Then, realizing how that sounded, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. I pushed off the wall. You know what the worst part is? I thought we were happy. I thought we had something real. But I was just the backup plan, the safety net in case this didn't work out. That's not true, Mara said. Isn't it? You kept me around for 5 years while you waited to see if he'd leave his wife. And when he didn't, you just kept going, kept lying, kept living both lives. I was going to tell you, she whispered. I was going to end it. When? Next year? In 10 years? When James's kids graduated college? She didn't answer. Jennifer stood up abruptly, started pacing. The bistro where we'd eaten lunch, where this had all started, felt like years instead of hours. The air in the apartment smelled like Mara's perfume and James's cologne, and the rain coming through a window someone had cracked open. I need to understand something, Jennifer said, stopping in front of Mara. Did you ever think about me? About his children? About what this would do to our family if it came out? Yes, Mara's voice was barely audible. All the time. But not enough to stop. No, not enough to stop. Why not? Mara looked up at her, tears streaming down her face. Because I'm selfish. Because I wanted him more than I cared about the damage. Because when you love someone, you make terrible choices and convince yourself they're justified. It was the most honest thing she'd said all day. Jennifer sat back down, and for a moment I thought she might actually understand, might find some way to sympathize with the woman who'd destroyed her marriage. But then she said, You're 20 years younger than me. You have no children, No mortgage, no real responsibilities. You could have had anyone. Why my husband? I didn't plan this. We met at a conference, started talking. He was funny and smart and made me feel like I mattered. It just happened. Nothing just happens, I said. You went to that apartment together. You got a key. You built a whole life here. Those were choices. I know. She looked at me. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ethan. You deserved better than this. Yeah, I did.
The conversation spiraled after that. Jennifer demanding details. How often? Where else? Did they talk about leaving their partners? Did they laugh about us? James trying to defend himself, to explain that his marriage had been dying for years, that this wasn't about Jennifer being inadequate. Mara oscillating between apologies and justifications. Maybe you've never been in a room like this, where everyone's bleeding out emotionally and no one can stop talking because silence would mean accepting the truth. Or maybe you have, and you know how exhausting it is. How at some point the pain becomes so constant you go numb. That's what happened to me. I stopped feeling it. Just watched them argue and cry and try to make sense of the senseless. Watched the storm outside intensify, lightning flickering over Arlington, the whole city going dark except for scattered lights. My phone buzzed again, another text from an unknown number. I told you what you needed to know. Now what are you going to do about it? David Wright. I stared at it, confused, then realized I'd been texting myself. Some automation I'd set up weeks ago when I was planning this, probably meant to remind me of something. But seeing the name, the fake identity I'd created to manipulate Jennifer, made me feel sick. Who had I become? I'd spent 6 weeks orchestrating this, creating fake identities, hacking emails, breaking into apartments, manipulating a woman I'd never met into confronting her husband. All in the name of what? Justice? Revenge? Making them hurt the way they'd hurt me? But looking around this room, at Jennifer's devastated face, at Mara curled up like a broken doll, at James's carefully constructed life lying in ruins, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt like a monster. I have to go, I said. They all looked at me. Ethan, please, Mara started. No, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. We need to figure out what happens next, James said. We need to talk about. You figure it out. I headed for the door. I'm not part of this anymore. Any of it. Ethan, Mara stood up. Don't leave like this. Please, let's go home. Let's talk, just the two of us. I turned back to look at her one last time. The woman I'd loved for 5 years. The woman I'd built a life with. The woman I'd thought I'd marry someday. She was a stranger. There is no home, I said. Not anymore. I'll pack your things and leave them with the building manager. Don't come back to the apartment. You can't just watch me. I left, walked down 4 flights of stairs and out into the rain. Didn't run, didn't rush, just walked, letting the water soak through my jacket, my jeans, my shoes. Let it wash over me like some kind of absolution I didn't deserve.
The drive back to Baltimore was a blur. Rain and headlights and the hypnotic rhythm of wipers across the windshield. I-95 was clogged with rush hour traffic. People heading home to their normal lives, their intact relationships, their uncomplicated Tuesdays. I envied every single one of them. By the time I got back to our apartment, my apartment now, it was almost 8 o'clock. The rain had followed me north, turning Baltimore's streets into rivers. I sat in my parked car for a long time, looking up at our windows. The lights were off, empty. It had never been empty before. In 3 years of living here, one of us was always home, but now it was just a space, 4 walls and some furniture. Not a home. Not anymore. I went inside anyway. The apartment smelled like us.
like the bergamot candle Mara loved, like the coffee I'd made this morning a lifetime ago, like the life we'd built together that turned out to be half fiction. I walked through it like a crime scene, looked at the photos on the walls, us at Acadia, at a friend's wedding, at that barbecue where we'd met. All those moments that had seemed so real. Were they? Had she been thinking about him even then? Or had there been a time when it was just us, before James Hendricks and his carefully scheduled Tuesdays? I'd never know. That was the worst part, really, the uncertainty, not knowing which moments were genuine and which were performance, not knowing if she'd ever really loved me or if I'd just been convenient. I started packing her things, methodically. Her clothes from the closet, her toiletries from the bathroom, the yoga mat she'd pretended to use. Every object was a small burial, 5 years compressed into boxes and garbage bags. Around midnight, my phone rang. Mara. I didn't answer. She called again and again, left voicemails I didn't listen to, sent texts I didn't read. Around 2 a.m., someone knocked on the door. I knew it was her before I opened it. Mara stood in the hallway, soaked from the rain, mascara streaked, looking like she'd been crying for hours. Probably had been. "Please," she said, "please let me explain." "There's nothing to explain. I love you. I know I fucked up, but I love you. We can work through this." "Mara, you spent 2 years building a life with someone else. You can't work through that." "People do. People survive affairs. We can get counseling. We can—" "It wasn't an affair," I said. "An affair is a mistake, a moment of weakness. What you did was sustain a parallel relationship for 2 years while lying to my face every single day. That's not something you recover from."
So that's it? 5 years, and you're just done. I looked at her, really looked at her, tried to find some remnant of the person I'd loved. "You were done 2 years ago," I said quietly, "when you chose him. I'm just catching up." "I chose you. I came home to you." "You came home to your backup plan." I stepped back. "Your stuff is packed. I'll leave it with Jerry downstairs tomorrow. Don't come back here." "Ethan!" I closed the door, stood there with my hand on the knob, listening to her cry on the other side, listening to her knock again, softer this time, listening to her say my name over and over until her voice went hoarse. And I felt nothing.
3 weeks later, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Hamden, trying to work on a logo design that my brain refused to process, when Jennifer Hendricks walked in. I almost didn't recognize her. She'd cut her hair short, was wearing jeans instead of the country club clothes she'd had on that day at Chez Michel. She looked smaller somehow, tired, like someone who'd lost weight they couldn't afford to lose. She saw me and hesitated, then walked over. "Can I sit?" I gestured to the empty chair. We sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop smelled like espresso and pastries, normal morning smells. Outside, Baltimore was trying to decide between spring and summer, the weather warm but not quite committed. "How are you?" she asked finally. "I don't know. You?" "The same." She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "I filed for divorce last week." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was the right choice." She paused. "James tried to fight it at first, wanted counseling, reconciliation, but I can't look at him without seeing her, without seeing that apartment, without wondering how many times he kissed our children goodnight and then went to bed thinking about someone else." I knew exactly what she meant. "Did they stay together?" I asked. "Mara and James?" "No." Jennifer smiled, but it was bitter. "Apparently, the relationship doesn't work as well when it's not forbidden, when it's not stolen hours on Tuesdays, when it's real life with real consequences. She looked at me. She called me, actually, a week ago. Mara called you? Wanted to apologize, told me she'd ended things with James, said she realized she'd been running away from real intimacy by choosing someone unavailable. Jennifer's laugh was sharp. I told her she could take her therapy speak and fuck off. Despite everything, I smiled. "What about you?" Jennifer asked. "Have you talked to her?" "No. She tried for a while, but I blocked her number, her email, everything." I stared into my coffee. I don't know who she is anymore. Maybe I never did. "I've been thinking about that," Jennifer said, "about whether we ever really knew them, or if we just knew the versions they wanted us to see. Does it matter?" She thinks it does. She leaned back. Because if they were always lying, always performing, then nothing was real. And I can't accept that. I can't accept that 15 years of my life, 2 children, a whole marriage, none of it was real. So what do you accept? That people are complicated, that someone can love you and still betray you, that they can be genuine in one moment and lie in the next. She met my eyes. That hurt is real, even if you can't make sense of it. We sat with that for a while. Then Jennifer said, "I shouldn't have helped you that day. I shouldn't have gone to that apartment with you."
Why not? Because it didn't fix anything. It just destroyed everything faster. She set down her coffee cup. The truth would have come out eventually, but the way we did it, the confrontation, the drama, I think it made it worse for all of us. You think we should have just let them keep lying? No, I think we should have confronted them privately, given ourselves time to process before blowing everything up. She paused. I think revenge felt good in the moment, but it didn't actually heal anything. I thought about that. About the 6 weeks I'd spent planning, the fake identity, the manipulation, the surveillance, the cold satisfaction I'd felt watching it all collapse. She was right. It hadn't healed anything. "I'm sorry," I said, "for dragging you into my revenge plan, for using you. I'm sorry too, for letting you." Jennifer stood up. "Take care of yourself, Ethan, and maybe find a therapist, someone who can help you process this without turning into someone you don't recognize." She left. I sat there in that coffee shop for another hour, watching people come and go. Students from the Maryland Institute College of Art working on laptops, parents with strollers, an elderly couple sharing a muffin, comfortable in their silence. Normal life, happening all around me. And I thought, maybe I can have that again someday. Maybe. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a different apartment now, smaller, quieter, 1 bedroom in Remington above a Vietnamese restaurant that makes the whole building smell like pho in the mornings. Not glamorous, but it's mine. I never heard from Mara again after that night in the hallway. Heard through mutual friends that she moved to New York. New city, new job, new life. Running away from the wreckage, maybe, or just trying to become someone different. I hope it works for her. I mean that. Despite everything, I hope she finds whatever she was looking for. Hope she learns to stay. Hope she figures out that love isn't about escape or excitement. It's about choosing someone even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when there's someone else who might make you feel more alive. Jennifer was right about therapy. I've been seeing someone for 4 months now, Dr. Sarah Chen, no relation to Mara, thank God. We talk about trust, about how to rebuild it, about knowing when to offer it again, about the difference between being cautious and being closed off. It's slow work, painful work, but I'm doing it.
I've started dating again. Nothing serious. Coffee dates, dinners, getting to know people without the weight of expectation. It feels strange, being single at 34 after so many years of partnership. But strange isn't bad, just different. Last week, I went on a second date with a woman named Rachel. She's a librarian, funny, kind, completely uninterested in drama. When I told her about Mara, the broad strokes, not the revenge, she said, "That must have been awful. I'm sorry that happened to you." Not, "I can't believe she did that," or "What a bitch," or any of the responses I'd gotten used to. Just, "I'm sorry that happened to you." Like it was a thing that happened, past tense, not a defining characteristic of who I am now. I liked that. We're getting coffee again this weekend. Maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't. Either way, I'm trying to stay open, trying to trust, trying to believe that not everyone is Mara, that not every relationship ends in betrayal. Some days I believe it, some days I don't, but I'm trying, and maybe that's enough. The truth is, I don't have a neat ending for this story. No moral, no lesson learned, no moment of clarity where everything suddenly made sense. What I have is this. Sometimes people you love will hurt you in ways you never imagined possible. Sometimes they'll build entire lives behind your back while smiling to your face. Sometimes the person you trust most in the world will be the person who destroys you. And when that happens, you have a choice. You can let it break you, let it turn you bitter and closed off and suspicious of everyone who comes after, or you can let it crack you open. Let the pain reshape you into someone more careful but not cruel, more aware but not paranoid, more cautious but still capable of trust. I'm still figuring out which one I'm choosing. But I'm here, still breathing, still designing logos and drinking bad coffee and watching the sun come up over Baltimore. Still believing, on good days, that there's a version of my life ahead that doesn't include keys to secret apartments and parallel lives and Tuesdays that mean something terrible. Maybe that's naive. Maybe I'll get burned again. Maybe trust is just another word for setting yourself up for disappointment. But the alternative, living in fear, never opening up, treating every relationship like it might be a lie, that's not living at all. So I choose risk. I choose possibility. I choose to believe that most people are honest, that most love is real, that most relationships don't end in betrayal. Because if I don't believe that, then Mara wins. And I didn't survive this just to let her win.
If you've been through something like this, if someone you loved rewrote your history and left you standing in the ruins wondering what was real, I can't tell you it gets easier, but it gets different. The pain becomes less sharp, the questions become less urgent. The person you were with them becomes someone you remember but don't quite recognize anymore. You learn to live with the uncertainty. Learn that you'll never know all the answers. Learn that some betrayals don't have explanations that make sense. And eventually, not today, maybe not next month, but eventually you wake up and realize you went a whole day without thinking about them. Then a whole week, then longer. Until one day you're sitting in a coffee shop with someone new and they make you laugh, and for a moment you forget to be afraid. That's when you know you're going to be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. And someday is enough to keep going. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Snooze Times. We tell fictional, inspired stories about betrayal, hidden lives, and the choices people make in silence. Was exposing the truth worth the damage it caused? Tell me what you would have done.